If you're just starting photography, it might be tempting to go for a brand new camera with all the bells and whistles, but even the most expensive gear in the world won't make you a better photographer if you don't know what you're doing. So, the best camera to start photography with is simply the one that'll get you out there shooting. We've included some pricier options here for those who want more advanced features or have a larger budget, but our advice for beginners is to get whichever camera is within your means and work on learning the basics. To help you find the right model, we've listed the top 5 best cameras for beginners and their key features, plus the things you need to consider to help you choose the best one for you, and as always, you can check pricing for any of these products in the description below. Like the video, comment, and don't forget to subscribe. Now, let's get started. Number 5. Nikon D3500. The Nikon D3500 is the best digital camera for beginners who have never used a camera before. That's all thanks to its unique interactive guide mode. Built right into the mode dial, the guide mode walks you through the camera's features in simplified terms so you can learn the ropes of photography as you go. While it doesn't have all of the extra features you'll find on newer, more advanced mirrorless models like the Canon EOS R50, the D3500 does have an excellent high-resolution sensor that punches above its class, plus a ton of high-quality lens options and a much longer battery life than mirrorless alternatives. With that said, the D3500 has been discontinued and is harder to find new, so you'll likely have to pick up a used model. If you can find one though, older DSLRs like this or previous iterations like the Nikon D3400 or D3300 are great, cost-effective options to dip your toe into serious photography. Overall, the D3500's guide mode and simple design make it the best choice for those who have never used a camera. The Nikon D3500 is decent for travel photography. Its sensor punches above its weight, with solid image quality and good dynamic range for an entry-level APS-C camera. Battery life is fantastic too, so it can easily last through long days on the go. It's also one of the most portable DSLRs around. That said, it's still relatively bulky compared to mirrorless alternatives, and the autofocus system is pretty basic, with focusing limited mostly to the center of the frame and unreliable tracking for fast subjects. Number 4. Canon EOS Rebel T7 2000D. If you want something truly cheap and prefer to avoid buying used, the Canon EOS Rebel T7 2000D is the most affordable DSLR Canon offers. It's also the best camera for beginners on a very tight budget. It's a real back-to-basics camera with very few bells and whistles. You won't find a tilting screen or even 4K video recording here, let alone more advanced features. So why are we recommending this ultra-basic DSLR from 2018? Because if this is the only camera on the list that you can afford, then it's worth it if it gets you out there shooting. It may not have features like IBIS or advanced subject detection modes, but it does have a high-resolution APS-C sensor that can capture beautiful photos, along with a well-established lens ecosystem. Many of Canon's EF/EFS lenses are also quite affordable for beginners and budget shooters, making it easier to upgrade whenever you outgrow the kit lens. The Canon Rebel T7 is adequate for landscape photography. Its image quality pales compared to full-frame or higher-end APS-C cameras, but it's still very solid for its class. Though its dynamic range is unremarkable, you can still get great landscape shots out of it, especially with good lighting conditions. The camera is also fairly comfortable to use, with simple controls tailored towards beginner photographers, though more advanced shooters may find the lack of command dials limiting. Unfortunately, it also feels quite cheaply made and isn't weather-sealed. Number 3. Canon EOS R50. The Canon EOS R50 is the best camera for photography beginners on a budget. With a highly portable body, you'll want to take it with you wherever you go. Like the Canon EOS R10 above, its simple controls and intelligent auto shooting mode make it a good fit for anyone upgrading from their smartphone. Plus, its autofocus system is quite reliable, with a range of subject detection modes to ensure your subject stays in focus, no matter where your interests lie. It's also a solid choice for video and vlogging, with 4K recording at up to 30 FPS and surprisingly advanced video specs for the price. That said, this camera doesn't have the longest battery life for video. If you want something more portable for travel, the Olympus OMD EM10 Mark IV is another great budget camera. The R50 is a bit cheaper and has a more effective autofocus system, but the Olympus is part of the Micro Four Thirds system, which offers more lens options and makes for a more portable overall kit. The Olympus is also one of the very few budget options to feature IBIS for steadier handheld shooting. The Canon EOS R50 is great for travel photography. It's a very lightweight and portable camera that's easy to travel with and take on the go. It also has simple controls and plenty of auto shooting modes, making it a great choice for beginners or those upgrading from their smartphones. Battery life is also relatively good, but you might still need a spare battery for longer days on the go. Number 2. Nikon Z50. Best built camera for beginners. The Nikon Z50 is a good choice for those who prioritize build quality and ergonomics. It's the only model on this list that's weather-sealed, providing some added peace of mind when shooting outdoors, and it feels very well built for a starter camera. Nikon cameras are also known for their excellent ergonomics, with well-placed controls and large hand grips. Beyond that, the camera has a tilting screen that can flip down for selfies and a large high-res viewfinder for a clear view of your subjects. While the Z50 doesn't have the highest resolution sensor among its peers, it still delivers excellent image quality and performs well in low light. It's also a good choice for action photography, thanks to a quick burst rate and a decent autofocus system, though it isn't as effective as the AF on the Canon EOS R10 above. Just be aware that lens support is still relatively limited for Nikon's mirrorless Z mount, especially if you're considering APS-C options. If you want more lens selection, the similarly priced Sony a6400 has a ton of native and third-party lens options and feels well constructed, though its ergonomics and user interface leave a lot to be desired. The Nikon Z50 is great for landscape photography. Image quality is impressive, with excellent dynamic range to bring out more highlight and shadow detail. There isn't too much noise at higher ISO settings, so it performs okay in low light. That said, battery life leaves something to be desired, especially for long hikes in remote locations. Number 1. Canon EOS R10. The Canon EOS R10 is the priciest camera on our list, but it's also the best digital camera for beginners. This is a great camera for both photography and light video work, with a good balance of features for beginners and more advanced users looking to upgrade from an older camera or DSLR. Like most of Canon's entry-level offerings, it has a lightweight feel, great ergonomics, and an intuitive, beginner-friendly interface. It's well suited to a range of photography styles, with a high-res sensor, quick burst shooting, and one of the best autofocus (AF) systems you'll find among entry-level cameras. The biggest downside here is that Canon's RF lens lineup is still being built out, so lens options are somewhat limited. If you want a camera with a more established lens ecosystem, the Fujifilm X-S10 is another fantastic entry-level camera. It's one of the few cameras in its price range to feature in-body image stabilization, IBIS, which can help you reduce camera shake when shooting handheld. That said, its autofocus isn't nearly as reliable as the Canon's, and it may be harder to find one brand new. The Canon R10 is good for travel photography, even with its relatively large hand grip. It's small and light enough to be easily carried around in a bag or on a sling for hours. The overall image quality is also very good, and the camera's autofocus system is fast and accurate enough to lock onto moving subjects. Its fully articulated screen also makes it easier to snap pictures from unusual angles. Unfortunately, while it has a longer battery life than its M-mount predecessors, it's still best to bring another pack or two for longer days.